So, Dylan,
Yes.
we'll get into it when we start talking about the movie,
Uh-huh.
but I feel like one of the things I want to address right out the gate about the Watchmen movie, how very Zack Snyder was it to have um that a particular rendition of Hallelujah playing while Night Owl's fucking Silk Spectre in the owl ship?
Right. Have we started the show?
We might. I think this is how we're starting it. Is I just want to get that out of the way. I have
Yeah.
never in my entire life seen something like so one-dimensional of like, oh, this song that's very famously pretty much about fucking, put it in the
Yeah.
sex scene.
It's well, I think we talked about that, and I imagine we're going to talk about that a lot more later on.
No, just
Is
get it out of the way now. Let's
not
talk
no
about
not specifically that. More specifically, Zack Snyder and his inability to understand like
subtlety
tone. Yes, subtlety, like nuance.
with a
Just like
capital B. That's how he spells
it's
it.
yeah, it's very like just hit you with a hammer. Like that's it. What do you think? You're like, I don't. And again, with a story this kind of complex and with characters this complex, maybe Zack Snyder wasn't the right guy. I mean, is this the start of the show? Because I have
It's
some
the
stuff.
start of the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Smark Avengers. My name is Corey. With me is Dylan and John. Guys, how's
Hello.
it going?
We're both very warm.
Yeah, it's a bit toasty.
I think this is like the first time that the temperature is almost the exact same where you guys are and where I am. And we talked about this off camera, but the big difference is that they have built homes in America to account for temperature because this is kind of normal for this time of year. Where
Yeah, like
it's not so much for you guys.
we have big houses, like big brick houses to keep the heat in. And now there's too much heat in.
You got it all.
It's in.
It's as in as it can be.
Oh, but then you open the window, more heat gets in.
Yeah, it's not helpful.
Yeah.
It's heat outside as well.
Yeah.
It's just heat everywhere. How do you win?
Do you have like water fans? Have you ever seen those?
No.
So you put cold, like they have a basin where you put cold water in it, and it like turns the water into like mist, and it's just like a cool air that just gets blown on you.
Okay. Well,
More electronically consciousable or electrically consciousable than just an air conditioner.
sure. Just make up stuff right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of making up stuff, who watches The Watchmen? We did.
I recently did.
You recently did.
Did.
Which is appropriate because the day that we were recording this is the day before the Watchmen comic episode comes out.
Oh, yeah. I was
worked out.
thinking, I'm like, are these two close together, or is it okay?
A
Like,
little bit of kismet. There's like a 2-episode gap between the two.
yeah, where we talk about fighting Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, we talk about fighting Alfred Hitchcock, and we talked about Mary Jane's kind of weird Venom costume.
Well,
And John watching Despicable Me 4 times. Well, not 4 times, but just all 4 of them.
I've since watched the Minions as well.
Oh shit!
Isn't there like a new Minions film coming out?
There was one from a couple of years ago, and I think there's another one this year as well.
Yeah,
So
you're gonna have to
3
watch it
Minions movies. And, I know, Jesus Christ.
so many Minion films.
We got seven of the movies in this world.
Yeah.
Didn't they come up with a reason for them? Like they were like locked up in like some sort of a cave or something during the time of World War II, so they didn't have to suggest that the Minions worked for Adolf Hitler.
So I was talking to somebody about this like 2 days ago.
I think that was part of the first movie. I want to say
yeah, they were like,
yeah,
they were like Antarctica or something, right? So they didn't have to fucking work.
They worked for Napoleon, I think.
Yeah, because they always worked for everyone.
Yeah.
The worst one of all. Stalin.
Because the last thing you want to do is being like in fucking Auschwitz and just see a little yellow guy going banana as a bunch of innocent people are led to their deaths.
You know, to start the show off with a fun.
Schindler's List been much more fucked up if there was a little minion right by Liam Neeson the whole time. He's like, I could have had more banana.
I think it was still pretty fucked up. I'm gonna say that. You know?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? But hey, speaking of fucked up movies, Zack Snyder's Watchmen.
Yeah, that's actually a really good segue.
Thank you.
You guys all thought we were talking shit about Minions? No, we made it
No.
work. It actually makes sense.
Minions are yellow. The comedian's smiley face button, yellow.
Yeah,
Connection.
Don't do that
Touch
on
and
camera.
tips.
Don't do that on camera.
Oh, a lot of people do this. It's cutesy, from what I understand. Or am I not cutesy?
So,
No.
Watchmen.
No.
Corey, you're adorable.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's what you wanted.
That's what I wanted. Thank you for validating
That's
me.
you got. So,
I appreciate that.
mhm.
Anyway, yes. So this movie was considered unfilmable for decades.
Yes.
Like about 20 years exactly, I think, because if memory serves, the first time they even explored the idea of making a film adaptation about this was in 1986, when they sold the rights, or presented the rights to create a movie. Let's see real quick. Yeah, 1986 producers Lawrence Gordon and Joel Silver acquired film rights to Watchmen for 20th Century Fox. Author Alan Moore declined to write a screenplay because he said basically that you couldn't make a movie out of this because you would lose what he was doing.
Let's just remember that bit for later.
Yeah. So Fox enlisted screenwriter Sam Hamm, who rewrote Watchmen's ending to make a more manageable conclusion involving assassination and a time paradox. That project got shelved in 1991. It moved over to Warner Brothers, where Terry Gilliam, of all people, was attached to direct, and Charles McCowan to rewrite the script. Gilliam and Silver were able to raise $25 million for the film, a quarter of the necessary budget because the previous film had gone over budget. Gilliam eventually left Watchmen, describing the comic as unfilmable, and Warner Brothers dropped the project entirely. In 2001, they partnered with Lloyd Levin and Universal Pictures, hiring David Hayter to write and direct. Hayter and producers left Universal due to creative differences, and Gordon and Levin expressed interest in setting up Watchmen at Revolution Studios. The project did not hold together at Revolution Studios and fell apart. In 2004, it was announced that Paramount Pictures would produce Watchmen, and Michael Bay was considered to direct. Eventually, they attached Darren Aronofsky to direct Hayter's script. Producers Gordon and Levin remained attached, collaborating with Aronofsky's producing partner Eric Watson. Paul Greengrass replaced Aronofsky when he left to focus on The Fountain, and ultimately Paramount placed Watchmen in turnaround. In October of 2005, Gordon and Levin met with Warner Brothers once again to develop the project. Tim Burton had at one point expressed interest in directing the film, but turned it down. And Warner Brothers was so impressed with a little movie called 300, they decided to approach him, Zack Snyder, to make the movie. And that's how this movie ended up in Zack Snyder's lap. Screenwriter Alex C., I'm going to say his pronunciation of that last name, TSE, was hired to rewrite Hayter's script. He drew from his favorite elements of Hayter's script and returned the story to the original Cold War setting of the comic, in contrast to Hayter's script, which was going to have it take place in modern times. Similar to the approach in 300, Snyder used the comic book as a storyboard, which we'll most likely get into. And following negotiations, Paramount, which had already spent $7 million in their failed project, earned the rights for international distribution of Watchmen and 25% of the ownership. The fight scenes were extended, a subplot about energy resources were added to make the film more topical. Although he intended to stay faithful to the look of the characters in the comic, Snyder intended Night Owl to look scarier and made Ozymandias' armor look into a parody of the rubber muscle suits from Batman and Robin from 1997. So that's sort of our pre-production. Dave Gibbons became an advisor on it. Alan Moore once again refused to have his name attached to this or any film adaptations of his work. And Snyder said in a 2008 interview with Entertainment Weekly, quote, "There are things that we did with Watchmen that could only work in a comic and were indeed designed to show off things the other media can't." So he knew this. We'll keep that in mind. He was aware that there are certain things he was not going to be able to do. While Alan Moore believes that David Hayter's screenplay was as close as I could imagine anyone getting to Watchmen, he asserted he did not intend to see the film if it were made, though. Sorry, Snyder did not say that. Alan Moore said that. My apologies. Alan Moore intentionally wrote it knowing that it was not ever going to be made into a film.
I love the idea of Zack Snyder not wanting to watch his own film that he made. Watch that shit.
So the reason, by the way, should we get into it now? Because there's already a reason being for why the ending was changed.
Yeah, that's a big sticking point for me.
Okay, cool. So let's just hop right into it. We'll tackle from the end and go to the beginning. We'll reverse order.
I'm gonna have to turn my notes over.
So obviously the big difference in the movie that everybody has pointed out, and many people say the reason why this movie was not very good, we kind of hinted at it when we talked about the Watchmen comic, was that the giant extraterrestrial squid that appeared and killed a bunch of people in New York, giving the impression that there was an alien invasion about to attack Earth and thus ending this Cold War, that was completely removed and replaced with this sort of energy bomb that was suggesting that Dr. Manhattan had gone rogue and decided to lash out against humanity, thus
Yes.
ending the Cold War. So that is the big difference between it. We talked a little bit about it when we were talking about the comic, because it was always a weird sticking point for me that Zack Snyder still felt the need to put in Babastus, and Babastus was there to foreshadow that Ozymandias was already fucking with genetic manipulation to create creatures.
Yeah.
So it made no sense for him to still have Babastus, except that it was in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so Dylan, John, thoughts on the ending?
I fucking hated it. I'm gonna tell you that. I'm gonna say this, like, probably about halfway through that film, I was like, which was a fucking long film. The one I watched was like
3 hours.
3.5 hours long.
Yeah.
It was so with adverts because I had to watch it on the ITV player, which did not work on my internet. So it took me like 5 hours to watch this fucking film. And I did it for the show. So, but like I would say the first half, I'm like, all right, like a lot of it's fairly faithful to the comic and how I remember it going. There's a couple of like little odd differences, but for the most, which I'll probably talk about later, but for the most part, it's pretty like the story's going where it needs to go. And then at some point in the second half, like a lot of that disappears. You learn more about the big plan at the end. You learn more about um this weird like Dr. Manhattan helping Ozymandias with like some sort of like machinery or like some sort of like revolutionary energy source, and then it turns out big plan is to like blow one of them up to make it look like Ozymandias did that, or to make it look like Dr. Manhattan did that to end the Cold War. You're like, well, how? What? How does how? Like, what do you? How do you connect those dots? I don't. How would Russia see that thing explode and go, well, that's fair enough?
The only
Water on
thing
the bridge.
to if I could say something, I would say that Dr. Manhattan was sort of like the Cuban Missile Crisis situation, where he was there as the, if we strike at America, we will succeed in hitting it, but he will attack, like he will likely retaliate. If he
Yes.
turns against his own country, what's to say he won't turn against our country? Like what's to say that we're safe now?
Right.
Because he obviously has no loyalties now. So that would be
Right.
the only thing I could think.
But that's surely that proves that it's a stupid idea.
That I have
Because
to
like
reach that conclusion on my fucking own? Yes.
no, because if he already because if the implication is that Dr. Manhattan did turn on his own country, then you're like, well then we're all fucked because he will just turn on anybody. Therefore, why would the war end? America still has this fucking deadly creature.
Yeah, but it just
But I
means
thought
that.
in
Oh,
the
go ahead.
movie, it wasn't just New York that
No, it
was
was a couple of
attacked.
different
It was,
places.
yeah, like
Was it
other
not
countries
all?
as well.
Was it in different countries? It seemed like they were all in America.
I assumed it was all in different countries. Like I could have sworn there was like
They said it was in a couple
London or something.
locations, but I don't think that they ever made it clear that it was in anywhere other than North America.
I guess that was the most important one for the audience's sake. Like, oh, it's
But
gonna
again,
hit harder if they see like their familiars that you get blown up.
yeah, if they
World's
see it,
countries have put aside their rivals to focus on common enemy Dr. Manhattan. It just mentions rigging his reactors to explode, killing 15 million people. So it says there was reactors in New York City and other locations across the planet. So
okay,
it is multiple places.
but even then, you're like, well, then how does that end like a war? Doesn't it escalate some sort of war?
Well,
Now,
not
aren't
if
people?
everybody gets hit at the same time, I guess. And it's like, well, we have to
Mm,
unite against, we have this common enemy that individually we're outgunned, but maybe if we all work together. I don't know.
I just don't. I just as an ending, I'm like the one in the comic was so satisfying.
Hmm.
So
So
satisfying, so much fun to read. You know, you get to the end, whereas this one was just kind of like kind of hacky and like, oh, you didn't have to. Like the ending's the best bit to me. Like it's the most interesting bit. You read all the way up to it to just to get to this bit and see how it works and how it impacts everything and see how all of the mechanisms worked and came together to get the ending to work. And then it just ends. Because then Dr. Manhattan is like, well, I guess you're right. The only way for this to end is for me to be a fucking prick. And then he just he just accepts that and
yeah.
disappears from his
Mm.
comic. It totally makes sense why he would logically go, well, I have no choice but to agree with you on this. It makes so little sense for Ozymandias to go, hey, Dr. Manhattan, it's all your fault. What do you think? And Manhattan goes, gotcha. You got it.
The only thing I can think of is because at that point he was maybe so detached from humanity that he was like he could look at it objectively and go like, yeah, I guess you're right that if I'm the common enemy, then everybody can unite against me. I don't know. John, do you have any thoughts before I can give into Zack Snyder's explanation for why he did what he did?
I mean, I think the more you look at it, the more holes you can poke into like the movie's ending. Like in theory, on the surface, which this is a very surface level movie anyway. It's like okay, maybe they didn't want the big goofy squid monsters and stuff, and so they went for something which was still impactful and like had the same sort of idea around the endings. But like you say, I don't know if like Dr. Manhattan being the
Scapegoat.
the like the sort of focus for everyone to kind of throw aside their differences and like end the Cold War. I don't think it pays off the way
No.
it should do. So yeah, it's not great.
All right.
I fucking love the squid bit because the way that they again the whole dialogue, the monologue that Ozymandias does, where he talks about the experiments that he's done and how it doesn't work. But they tried to teleport stuff, and they could teleport stuff, but they die. And so then they get to the conclusion where they're like, oh well, then you can teleport a squid monster to New York, but it doesn't matter because he's already dead. And Ozymandias is like, well, I figured that out too. Instead of fixing that, I just came up with a different solution. Like all of that is so much fun to read. But for them to just go, we just blew up a nuclear reactor. What are you gonna do about it? It's the
So
blue guy's fault. Like it's so cheap.
I get the idea.
Mm.
I get the idea of like, hey, let's like we're gonna appeal to everyone's shared humanity. This thing, which is, oh boy, in today's political climate, don't you love when we point out an other and say that thing's bad? That's essentially what this was like, hey, that blue guy with the powers, bad. We as normal people need to unite against the thing that's different. That's a little fun.
Mm.
Let's put that out there real quick. But anyway, Zack Snyder's explanation for why he made the controversial decision to change the ending, quote, Snyder figured it would take about 15 minutes to explain the squid's appearance correctly. Otherwise, it's pretty crazy.
Correctly.
Correctly. By omitting the squid, Snyder felt that he could give more time to explore and develop the existing characters. Did you feel any characters were explored or developed better?
No, not at the end. Like in that end section, I'm like that is such a letdown from what it was in the comics, which was such fun to watch like unfold. And no characters got developed at all in the end of Watchmen,
Mhm.
and this shit happened, and then it ended.
I feel like the opposite things happened. I didn't walk away from Watchmen feeling like Night Owl was going to give up being Night Owl. If anything, he seemed like he was like alive again by being Night Owl. That like by not being Night Owl, he was like bored and like impotent. But now that he's Night Owl, he's like back in the saddle. And I feel like that didn't. I feel like what happened wasn't a big enough deterrent for him to be like, oh, I'm gonna hang up the suit forever and just be a guy with his hot girlfriend now.
He
Mm.
watched fucking Rorschach die.
He did the no scream.
Yeah, he watched that happen, and even then, you're like, whatever.
To be frank, they were partners. They had a falling out, and they were still somewhat close, but Rorschach did make him uncomfortable. He's like, thank God, I don't have to worry about this guy just creeping through my house again.
Well, the thing, Rorschach made everybody uncomfortable, but like the fact is, like
No,
you
he saw his
said,
buddy die in front of him, and he was like, fuck. Nothing I could do about it. That's a god. I'm just a fat guy in a suit.
well, not even. He was just like, oh no, but I'll still be a superhero. This is fine.
Well, then he went and he started punching the shit out of Ozymandias like that pissed me off too, because they didn't even bother to like if I'm remembering correctly, did they even hit Ozymandias? Because I know he caught the bullet when
Yes.
Silk Spectre like took a gun and shot at him, but did
Yeah.
like Night Owl try to beat the shit out of him in the comics? I don't remember that happening.
No.
No, because that's Zack Snyder's like weird testosterone fuel bullshit.
Yeah.
Where it's
Yeah.
like,
Like,
again, Dan's got to get his dick hard in a superhero costume and beat the shit out of somebody. Because he did the same
No.
thing when like when he found out Hollis Mason died. You know, he
Yeah.
had to beat up the guy and like break bones and stuff. Because that was another thing about this movie was the violence was really upped. Where you were like
Yeah.
seeing people's arms and shit snap and their bones pop through their skin and whatnot.
Yes. I
It
think
felt-
I wrote that down.
It felt so juvenile. Like everything Zack Snyder does.
Yep.
It felt like it was designed to appeal to that 12-year-old boy who got his first fucking erection, you know? Like, fuck yeah, this is the best. I'm a man now, you know?
I mean, to that end, I can understand because I also got my first erection whenever I was dressed up as Night Owl. And I didn't even know who he was.
No.
But I was just dressed up like an owl, and I thought, this is hot, man. This is good. This is good. Ooh.
Leonard Cohen playing in the background. Hell yeah, brother.
If I could just see a big naked blue guy kill one of my associates, I would be jerking off so bad. Maybe cut that bit.
Maybe.
Well, it's funny you mentioned about how like Zack Snyder justified not using the squid monster because he didn't want to spend 15 minutes setting it up or whatever. But then we have what's the cat's name? Bubastis? Like,
Bubastis.
yeah, it just shows up and it's like, what the fuck is that weird cat thing? There's no explanation for
Exactly.
that.
That's
Yeah,
the point. Because in the panel, you see it get eviscerated when Ozymandias tries to destroy Dr. Manhattan, basically just inconvenience him. Because that's what it was.
Mhm.
Ozymandias knew it wasn't going to kill him. He's like, this is going to inconvenience him long enough for me to do what I need to do.
but like that has kind of emotion to it as well because you see Ozymandias caring for this cat of his all the way through the comic. For that panel to happen, it shows his like kind of cold-hearted nature for him to just
Yeah,
go,
he
"Wow."
was willingly killing this creation that he cared about.
But to go along with that, do you have the explanation of now you know why the cat exists to begin with? If you lose that part of the film, you just see this guy killing that cat pet thing.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
that
Which you've
doesn't
never
really-
seen before.
Yes,
Exactly.
it
So-
doesn't really have any
So-
impact.
No, he just saw it in the comic and he's like, oh, that was on panel. Let me put it in there. Again, we talked about it, he's like, I'm going to use panels as the storyboard, but not have any fucking context for it. Anyway,
Yes,
real quick, when it comes to that whole bit with Bubastis and being like, oh, it would take 15 minutes to explain the squid. No, it fucking doesn't. I was showing old movies to a friend of mine very recently. We watched The Witches of Eastwick. That movie is an hour 35. At no point do any of the characters sit and go, oh, we're witches. We can cast spells. They don't. They have a scene where they're all playing tennis and they witness each other being able to manipulate the ball without touching it. And the audience goes, okay, they're now aware that their actions, these things that have been happening by fluke and accident are actually being caused by their intentions. You
Right.
trust the audience to connect the fucking dots. You don't have to explain shit to them.
well,
You trust your
I-
audience.
Yes, to that point, I feel like, and to the point we've been making for a long time, which is Zack Snyder's a fucking idiot and a terrible director. It's funny that you would look at something like that, the nuances of telling a story through a visual medium, and for a director to not understand that whenever he's directing a film, which I would argue is 80% visual medium, doesn't really like understand that. Like that says so much about that director where he just doesn't understand And we're not even talking about like nuance or whatever. We're just talking about like visual clues and how to get something over to an
There could have
audience.
been
Saying it out loud.
any scene that they put Adrian in. He could have had like some jars of specimens behind him, maybe obscured by like blurring on the camera. When Rorschach is going through his computer, he could have had a file that said something about like organisms. They could have done enough visual cues just in the scenes with him that you wouldn't have to explain it over the top.
But also, for example, if we just rewind a little bit and took away the whole gimmick of the film was the end of it is the nuclear explosions, whatever that it appears Dr. Manhattan caused. So if we go back and just assume that the film uses like the proper ending, the squid monster ending, but we still keep the trick where Ozymandias and Dr. Manhattan are working together, then it's super easy to do that. Because Dr. Manhattan would be able to like understand genetics and manipulate things like that, and would be able to explain to Ozymandias how to develop chimeras and hybrids and stuff like this. If anything, that's almost way easier to explain than fucking generator shit. Because Dr. Manhattan would understand that on a molecular level, and then even if at the end of you still wanted to blame Dr. Manhattan for that, you could just go, well, he knows all the molecular shit. He did that. He created this monster. You could easily do that.
I mean, I get it to a degree because I think he was trying to tie in the subplot where Adrian was like creating the smear campaign against Dr. Manhattan, which is what alienated him and drove him to Mars. If you get Dr. Manhattan off of planet, then he won't fuck around with me right now. I get like, I'll already introduce it into the public conscious that he's not good to be around. His very presence causes cancer. Like, I get what he was attempting to do. It's just like in every other fucking thing Zack Snyder has ever done in his fucking career. He goes point A, point B, let's go to point H. Like, you skipped so much shit.
Well, I think it's the opposite. I think he goes from point A to point B, and he's just like, "That's the film." Like, there you go. It's as easy as that. You go. Oh, what do you mean? You just go here to here. That's the story. You know, he misses a lot of the stops in between. He misses the nuances. He misses like the appropriate dialogue, like we said, like setting the scene and foreshadowing. One thing you can say about the Watchmen comic is that it's fantastic at foreshadowing.
Yes.
Yep.
Fantastic at just putting stuff in there where
it's
you go,
some of the best use of literary devices ever.
It's fantastic for that. There's no foreshadowing in this fucking film.
So, okay, we could make the whole fucking episode just talking about the ending, I think. Because I feel like we've been on it for a hot minute.
Yeah.
I feel like we've reached a conclusion where we're like, the ending didn't make sense. He did not accomplish what he was out to do, which is like, usually when you try to judge art, that is kind of the way I look at it. What was trying to be accomplished, and did it succeed in that goal? I don't think it did.
No.
So you want us to, if we're going to cut off like really quick, stop talking about the ending.
Yes.
I'm going to say that I have 2 pages of notes, and one whole page is just the ending. So can I read the notes?
Yeah, what else on the ending were you wanting to hit on real quick?
Well, I'm just going to read you what I've written down while I watched the film.
Okay.
So the first thing...
Is this like stream of consciousness?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Go up.
So the first thing on the second page that says, the second half falls down more than the first half. I agree with that. Ozymandias seems to have some sort of powers. He seems to have some sort of agility powers. It's not like a Captain America thing. He seems to like have actual agility powers.
Yeah. And super strength as well.
Yeah, which if the gimmick of this film is Dr. Manhattan is the only one with powers, once again, you're like, well, you fucking missed that completely. If given this guy superpowers too. Like, that's stupid. Ozymandias' fantastic speech at the end of the comic is just cut short for no reason. I mean, now we know what the reason is. It takes too long.
That would have been taking 15 minutes. Don't have the time for it.
Don't have the time.
Got to see
3 hours.
Got to see Patrick Wilson's ass, swinging back and forth.
It's not bad. Let's be honest with ourselves.
I've seen worse.
Yeah, I've seen better.
Good middle of the road, but
not bad. 5 out of 10. Yeah.
Oh, I feel like 5 out of 10's low though. 5
out of 10 is average.
I would put a 7. I'd go 7.
John?
John?
I'll split the difference and say 6.
That's fair enough.
Maybe not the right word to use, but okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
Ooh. I don't like the Ozymandias Manhattan working together only for Ozymandias to fuck Manhattan over angle. I feel the original was better. Making Dr. Manhattan the villain is a really odd choice. The end seems really rushed, even after 3 hours of film, which I think is correct. Like, it just happened. Like, what? You took so much time with the rest of it, and then that's the way it ends. The way Dr. Manhattan comes to the conclusion that he must accept he is the bad guy sucks. I think by the end of the film, we can say that Rorschach is the strongest and most comic accurate character in the film. We can talk about that if you want to. The conversation.
Yeah, I figured we'd get into casting.
Yeah. Well, not even casting. I mean, just like character-wise, like as a comic equivalent to film equivalent, the Rorschach character is pretty 1-to-1.
Oh, well, we'll get into that.
Yeah. The conversation with Manhattan and Rorschach is good. Yeah, this is a bit. Ozymandias just lets Oilboy beat him up. Okay, so that just happened.
Which is weird to me as well, because you've discussed that Ozymandias has like super strength, but we've also seen Dan like break people's bones. Like, he should have fucked his face up way more. But it did have that very standard like cool guy action, only bleeding from the coolest spots on the face, despite his face should have been swollen up.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You know, like getting shot in the ear, so you have a little bit of blood in your face, but not really on your actual face.
Yeah.
That's comic book shit.
Yep.
The bit where they say as long as people think that Dr. Manhattan is still watching them, we'll all be all right. Like, what does that mean? They frame him as a bad guy that can destroy whole cities. So, like, what do you mean if he's just still watching us, we'll be all right? It's such a weird ending. And then the last thing I wrote is, at no point during the film do they actually show like the new frontier ship like stuff until the very, very end, right? Which in the comic is great because you do see the new frontier ship kind of mentioned, and you see them doing their editing and stuff like that. You see them, you hear about them, you understand that they have a purpose. It's never mentioned in the film except right at the end, and so therefore the actual end of the film, the comic, has no impact whatsoever because you don't have the context of having seen or heard or understanding any of it previously. So I was very disappointed. It just makes the ending feel really flat. Those are my notes on the end.
All right. So, so real quick, I do want to talk on casting a bit. I think the casting is a bit of a grab bag. I think that the people who really stand out the most in this movie were Jeffrey Dean Morgan as comedian. I think he did a fantastic job.
Yes.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan's usually good in roles like that. It's a bit of a typecast he has these days. If you were to look at how he was cast in Walking Dead or in Supernatural or things like that, it's sort of like playing an asshole is kind of his deal.
Yeah.
Jackie Earle Haley is the only person that could play Rorschach, in my opinion.
He did a great job.
Did a great job. That's what I was going to, where he's like, I feel like he's the most comic accurate. I think it's because Jackie Earle Haley was like such a big fan of wanting to play the character.
Yeah. He's great.
I mean, he was the right height for it, the right size for it. He's ugly as fucking sin.
He had the right look for it.
He's a fucking weasel.
Well, just like even in the comic, like very similar like face structure, like it really looked like it was like that was pretty impressive. All of that, you know.
I think Patrick Wilson was fine. I didn't have any issues with him in the role. I think he did a great job.
Who was he?
He was Night Owl.
I think he was okay. But he could have. I think he could have been a bit more sort of
pathetic,
overweight, and
Well, he mentioned that he had put on weight for the role, but then they put him in the costume, and the costume was like slimming.
Yeah, like
that defeats the purpose of like he's like, yeah, I got put on like 20-30 pounds for this.
I heard that too. He was like, "Oh, I put weight on for this." I'm like, "I don't think you did, sir." That's just Hollywood shit.
I think the costume had a corset in it. I think it's the problem.
That is not putting on weight, my friend. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I remember at the time there was a criticism of Billy Crudup as Dr. Manhattan, saying that he sounded too sad to be Dr. Manhattan. The Dr. Manhattan should sound emotionless, like mid of a drone, and that he sounded kind of depressed. I don't remember enough to know if that's how I felt about it, but I feel like it's criticism worth pointing out if you think about it yourself.
I didn't think he sounded. too sad, but I can also understand why he would sound sad. This is a man that's
I
losing all
think
his humanity.
as well, if he sounded too much like a robot, it wouldn't really carry over well onto the screen. Like it would make the character just a bit too bland and boring. Like
Yeah.
at least he's got some sort of humanity left to make him feel sad about stuff. So
Yeah.
that's more relatable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, that was just I remember criticism at the time pointing out that he doesn't sound emotionless enough. He sounds too sad to be Doctor Manhattan. So was it Malin Ackerman as Silk
Hmm.
Spectre 2? She got nothing to work with. She was just there to be naked, I feel.
Yeah, her character
Hmm.
just disappeared.
She was there to
Yeah.
be hot, which I feel like is a something that happens with Zack Snyder
It was
movies.
that was one of the things I wrote down in my notes, was that in the comics, they do a bit where she puts her costume on. She's like, "Oh, this fucking old costume, it's all frumpy and I hate it." You know what I mean? And in the
Mm.
film, it's just her in fucking leather, like
It's like a
straight away.
latex outfit, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
straight away. Like, all right. Just fucking forget the whole thing.
Right.
Shit.
The only other casting I want to mention is just he's my boy, and I shout him out anytime I see him in a movie, and that's Matt Frewer as Moloch the magician. I just
Okay.
like Matt Frewer. He's Max Headroom. He's one of
Mhm.
my
Yeah,
favorite character actors.
he was good. I
Yeah.
liked him. I
Yeah.
didn't like Ozymandias.
No, Matthew
No,
Good.
no. Let
No,
me actually. What was the actor
I
who
didn't
played
like
him?
him at all. I didn't like his
Matthew
look. I didn't
Good.
like I didn't like it. I just that didn't seem to fit for like
No,
what
he wasn't
this is supposed
charismatic enough for the character.
to.
Like
No.
he's supposed to be this guy who's like a big genius, businessman, superhero, and yeah, he just came across as quite boring.
That was something that really annoyed me too, was that they got rid of a lot of the side plot of Ozymandias being a kind of like
Yeah,
businessman,
because he was like
making
selling toys and like
yeah, he's
they were like
making like products
Vite
about himself.
perfume and stuff. Like
Yeah,
he was a capitalist.
none of that was there. He was
No.
just a guy that knew some business people, and I'm like, this again, you're losing part of that character
Mm-hmm.
that I think is kind of important. You can see why somebody would read that comic and go, I don't get that at all. We can cut that bit out. And I can see why other people, us, would read that and go, well, this is important for this guy's character,
Yeah.
because it's little things like this that make a character work. It's not just like, I'm Ozymandias and I can catch bullets, which some people might think is, is gimmick, you know? There's more to it than that. So I was annoyed that they cut that bit out too. And like maybe part of it was I didn't like the way they handled Ozymandias in the film, but I just didn't really feel like the actor itself was like.
Well, and reading the whole thing of like, oh, we designed his costume to look like a Joel Schumacher Batman movie. It's like, all right, let's not, those in glass houses not throwing stones there, Zach. Like, not this,
Mhm.
like, and just as a thing before we get into the reception of this, um, I believe financially, this movie only beat Batman and Robin for like
Yeah.
lowest DC movie, like earning DC movie. It did not do well in the theaters.
No, but
Had a good
also like,
first week and then dropped off a fucking cliff for week two.
if you're gonna have your major antagonist in this film, and you as the director is like, I'm just gonna make him look like one of those fucking joke characters from a film I hate.
Can't
You're
take him
like, you're
seriously.
not off to a good start. You can't take him seriously. If you are like right off the bat, he looks like a joke. You're like, well, who gives a shit? You
Well, and
know?
remember he
Mm.
like took the place of remember was it Captain Metropolis in the comic when the new Minutemen were going to meet up and it was going to be like Rorschach and Night Owl 2 joining like it was Silk Spectre 2 and Professor, not Professor, Dr. Manhattan. They were all joining up and he was like, "I'm Captain Metropolis. I was one of the original Minutemen. We're going to set up perimeters and we're going to go on searches." And the comedian's like, "This is fucking stupid." And he lights it on fire. They
Yep.
replaced Captain Metropolis with Ozymandias in that scene. And I feel like that I don't know what that accomplished
Mhm.
because like the whole point of that scene was to show that like the old-fashioned way of viewing things, those days were gone and over with. It was the passing of the Silver Age to the Bronze Age, where the heroes were more gritty and were dealing with a lot more issues. Because like the next
Yes.
segue into that was like the civil rights riots and Night Owl and comedian like having a talk about like morality. as like they're shooting tear gas at protesters who are protesting police brutality.
Yes. And again, I think that that's probably one of those things that Zack Snyder didn't realize.
No.
One of those like the old way of doing things versus the new way of doing things. He didn't see that. He just saw the comedian lighting a thing on fire. Like, that's cool.
Yeah,
I'll
let me
keep
do
that.
it to Ozymandias to like make the character look like a pussy.
Well, also like, well, we'll cut this other old shit out because the film will, you know, it's gonna take me 15 minutes to explain who these people are.
So, okay. Let's jump into something else real quick. This movie was interesting because at the time its choice in soundtrack was kind of bizarre, to say the least, at times. Like we already mentioned the Leonard Cohen version of Hallelujah being used in the sex scene, which is so on the nose, it's driving it into the guy's skull. But you also
So I
have that. But you also have like times are changing being used in the opening credits, which I thought was actually really good opening credit sequence. I thought
Yeah.
it was very stylistic. It looked cool. It like covered a broad time period, so I thought
yeah,
that was kind of cool.
yeah,
Um, along the Watchtower being used as like Night Owl and Rorschach are like flying to Antarctica to go after Vite, that was kind of cool. But I don't know, like, what is your opinion on like kind of bigger songs being used in movies like this? I don't know. It's sometimes in some places it feels out of place. Like, for as much as the Zack Snyder people hate James Gunn, that's like a James Gunn staple as well, is to have this really kind of eclectic soundtrack used throughout
yes.
the film.
Yeah, but
I was
James
gonna
Gunn
say,
at least tries to pick music that's sort of out of left field a bit, whereas I feel like Zack Snyder always goes for the most obvious songs. Like in this playing like Ride of the Valkyries in a like Vietnam scene is like,
Yeah.
ah, Jesus Christ, man. It's been done. Even all along the Watchtower felt like
Yeah.
that. It didn't really fit the scene for me at all. It just felt like, hey, let's stick in a cool song here.
but then again, that's Zack Snyder been very on the nose with something as opposed to like,
Mm.
because you can get really cool songs that work in the context of the film. That when you sit and listen to them, you're like, oh, okay, I get why this is played here. Whereas Zack Snyder once again is just showing his own ignorance by like, I know like 7 songs. This be cool. You know?
Yeah. I remember what was really interesting. The first teaser trailer for this featured a Smashing Pumpkins song that wasn't in the actual soundtrack for the
Uh huh.
Watchmen movie, but it was like interesting because it was a song that was used also for Batman and Robin. It was actually on the Batman and Robin soundtrack, which I thought was also really fucking bizarre. For some
Yeah,
reason, those two movies cannot separate each other.
they're the same film.
Batman and Robin and Watchmen are just
The same
living in
film.
this hub together.
Yeah. You know, like the bit at the end whenever Poison Ivy, it turns out that she framed Doctor Freeze,
Mr.
and
Freeze?
and he's like, well, it's the only way to save my wife, so I'll just accept that, move on. You
Yep.
know.
2 movies with a big blue guy in it.
Yeah, and Batman and Robin are just like, what the fuck do we do here? Why are we even here?
Well, I will say though, I do appreciate Mr. Freeze making all of his henchmen sing the Ice Miser song in that scene. That was always fun.
Well, I'm glad you
Sing,
enjoyed.
boys!
And
That's
you
a
were
dream. As a bald man, that's a dream Halloween costume. Mr. Freeze in that polar bear slippers and the pajama pants and stuff. Fucking paint me blue,
Oh yeah,
bro.
that's the look.
That's the
this could
look.
be this could be your year.
And I could strip it all off and be completely nude and be Dr. Manhattan. 2 costumes in one.
Same film.
Same
Same
film.
film. Same
Can't
film.
separate them.
Breaking shit wide open here, man. Same film.
Crack it open. Maybe not. If we're being naked.
Zack Snyder thought he was making fun of that old Batman film by like making the suit look like that. Whenever really he was just adding more strength to the fact that
They're
same
very
film.
similar.
Same film.
Oh, goodness
Yeah.
gracious. All right, well, is there any other well, I mean, I guess one of the things I wanted to talk about was sort of like the marketing to this. I was working at a bookstore at the time that this movie came out, and as you know, DC Comics sold so many more copies of Watchmen because of this movie. Like that was really the big revenue driver. Is they sold a lot of copies of that graphic novel. They even re-released issue 1 for the original cover price of $1.50.
Not bad.
No, and like people bought it, you know.
Of
But
course, they fucking dollar.
yeah, $1.50 for a comic these days. You're kidding.
Fuck yeah.
Most are like $4.99 these days. That's the cheap
Oh my god, ridiculous.
end. So, I remember we sold T-shirts, we sold buttons, we sold action figures, we sold puzzles and stationery. And I talked to you guys last time about the Watchmen video game, The End Is Nigh, where you're playing Rorschach and Night Owl in the 1970s before the movie takes place, and you're like going through the streets and beating up members of the was it the Top Knots? Was that the name of the gang?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I they really kind of like the marketing for this movie, I think they were trying to pitch it as another superhero movie, and it's obviously not, despite the fact that Zack Snyder, did things like increase all of the fight sequences, because the very first like Night Owl Silk Spectre fight sequence when they're not in costume and like the gang corners them in an alley, it's only like
Yeah.
2-3 panels. Like you see
Yes.
them get surrounded and you see them walk away kind of like dusting themselves off.
I think it's like a page.
Yeah, it's not very long. But in this
No.
there's like super stylized close-ups of like people's arms breaking and stuff.
Yeah. And then you're like, well, maybe if you cut that shit out, you would be able to have 15 minutes at the end to explain the fucking film.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? I will argue with this. At one point, you said they were marketing Watchmen like a regular superhero film when
Yeah.
it's not. And I'm like, well, I disagree with there because I feel like Watchmen the comic is not a regular superhero film, whereas Watchmen the film ended up being like, while they tried the twists and turns, lost a lot of the twists and turns and made it good, and just ended up just kind of being a superhero film. There's a bad guy, he gets beat up at the end.
But barely though.
Well, he doesn't get beat up in the comic. There's some sort of conclusion, and then there's some comic book violence. Everybody goes home happy. If you think about it, Watchmen would ironically just turned out to be another superhero film.
So
Yeah.
So DC, by the way, DC had to print more than 900,000 copies of the Watchmen trade to keep up with demand. So that was the real winner there. So again, we talked about how there was multiple versions of this movie. The movie that I watched was 162 minutes long, so close to 3 hours. That was the original theatrical cut. Dylan, you watched, by the sound of it, you didn't watch. Did you watch the director's cut, or did you watch the ultimate cut?
It was about, I would say, about 3.5 hours long.
Okay,
I
so
think you watched the ultimate cut, didn't you? Because it had the
Black Freighter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Which
So yeah.
I would like to talk about those at some point.
Okay. There was also the director's cut, which was 186 minutes.
Okay.
So that
That's
was just
the one I
more-
watched a couple of weeks ago.
So that was that one I think had expanded scenes of like Hollis Mason and stuff. Just
Mhm.
We all watched different versions of Watchmen.
yeah, sounds
Yep.
like it. And Dylan, you came away with the hardest assignment.
Yeah.
I fucking nailed it though.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
All right. So what do you want to talk about the Tales of the Black Freighter? I know that it was Gerard Butler was the voice of the captain in Tales from the Black Freighter.
Mhm.
Yeah, he does the narration. So I'm gonna get into some animation here because you guys know me. I like my animation. I'm very interested in how this all worked because obviously the film when it came out didn't have the animations in it. Corey, I don't know if you can tell me this or not. Were the animations originally supposed to be part of the film and then just got cut?
No, it was supplemental. It was meant to be supplemental. So
they
released it out on DVD after the fact.
They made it after the fact.
Yeah.
You get the feeling when you watch those animations that it was after the fact
Yes.
because it's a little choppy.
Did
Mhm.
did it include the 38-minute fictional in-universe documentary Under the Hood?
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay, John, did you see that?
No.
All right, cool. We've all avoided that one like the plague then. So yeah, apparently
Gotcha.
that's supposed to take bits from Hollis Mason's autobiography and shoot it
Yeah.
like a documentary with like the old characters. So like original
Okay.
Silk Spectre and stuff.
John, have you seen the animations?
Yeah, I've seen it because I had the DVD of it, so I've seen it
Bonus.
all as a whole rather than
Cut into the
spliced
movie.
into the
Okay,
movie.
cool.
Yeah.
So you're gonna know what I'm talking about. The animation is kind of choppy. There's also like a very strange. This is why I thought it was done after the fact, because there's a lot of occasions where the lip syncing is not correct.
Not ideal.
No,
Mm.
it's close, but it's not correct, and I don't know why that is. I assume it's because the animation was done first, and Gerard Butler is not an anime voiceover artist who
No.
can watch it and record it back. There's it just something about it doesn't match up. The animation itself is, I'm gonna say, there's a couple of techniques in animation that you can do to make something look good when it's not good. If that makes any sense to you guys, without pulling the curtain back too much, there's a couple of things you can do where people will go, "That's great," whenever really you're like,
Mm.
like if you hear a guitar solo and you go, "That's great," but a guitarist would go, "Come on, man."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone who knows what they're doing, you're gonna point. It's gonna look bad.
Also, for the fact, I don't want to make it seem like I do know what I'm doing with my animations, because you've seen some of them; they're not great, but like you know what to look out for. And a lot of the time in that animations, you're like, this also seems rushed.
Yeah.
This also seems like it was an afterthought, and they had to do it in order to get something done. And parts of it look very good, but that kind of, again, in that kind of anime style, where like they've if you watch anime, you'll know that they'll spend a lot of their budget on like 1-2 minute scene, and then there's a lot of close-ups of somebody's face talking, and that close-up of their face is just the mouth moving.
Yeah.
There's bits like that where you're like, some of this looks good, some of this looks bad and sounds bad, and some of this sounds and looks good, but it isn't. Does that make sense?
Mm.
I agree.
Okay.
I'm
I understand what
interested
you're
to
saying.
know, like, in the context of the movie, did it feel like it fit in, or did it feel like a jarring, like, interlude to have these
Yeah.
random snippets of the animation kick in?
They would do the bits where the guy was at the newsstand. And I don't know if this was in like the original cut of the film, but they had the guy at the newsstand and the wee kid reading the comic book.
They just
And
showed him
then,
interspersely. There wasn't. I don't even think they got dialogue.
No.
well, there is a bit in this version of the film I watched where the gang, and like, you're gonna love this if you love Zack Snyder and his on the nose work. And if you haven't seen this bit, you're gonna love it. There is literally a bit where the gang come over to like ruffle up the kid reading the comic book for no reason, and then they're like, "Hey, while we're here, do you know who we should go and kill?"
Hollis Mason.
Mm.
Hollis Mason. He lives over there, right over there. We should kill him.
Yeah,
Like,
Night Owl beat up some of our boys. Let's go kill Night Owl. Yeah.
I don't know if that's in the actual film, but yeah, that's
If
attached.
if memory serves, they are at a bar. Rorschach and Night Owl are at a bar, and then the news comes
Yes.
on, and the news bulletin of like Hollis Mason dead, and
Okay.
Night Owl freaks out and beats the shit out of some like top knot guy at the bar.
Yes. Okay, that happens in the when I watch, but before that, there's literally an exposition bit where they say, "We're going to go do this right now." But the reason for it is they're messing with the kid who's reading the book.
The comic book, yeah.
So then they're like, "Well, now that we're done messing with this kid, why don't we kill an old guy?" And like, this is great stuff, Zach.
Christ.
But like, that to me felt like the only parts of that. Like, you would see the guy, oh, I own a comic book,
A
or
newspaper stand.
on a newspaper stand. Hey, there's this kid. What are you doing, kid? And the kid'd be like, hello. And then it would just like over the
Zoom
shoulder,
in.
like go into the comic. And that happened like 3 times. And you're like, I can see why they cut this bit out. Because I can also see why Zack Snyder would be like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Blue skidooed and we did too, Jump right in.
Whatever the fuck,
Yeah. So, okay, all right. So Would you like to get into the financials of this film?
It made $78 billion.
Well, its opening weekend, it grossed $55 million. At that
Okay.
point, it held the biggest number of screenings for an R-rated film, breaking the previous record held by The Matrix Reloaded. It was also the highest of any Alan Moore adaptation to date. The income was also greater than the entire box office run of From Hell, which made $31 million in total. So the opening weekend, it did better than the entire time From Hell was in the theater. Now here's the thing. I don't know of anyone that was like lining up to go see From Hell. It's a great story, but like that doesn't seem like the kind of thing that would drive a big crowd.
Hmm.
However, that was significantly less than 300, which did 70 million in its opening weekend.
Damn.
So, bit of a step down.
Mm.
And Watchmen runtime was 45 minutes longer than 300 was.
Long film, dude.
So
Long.
the second weekend, they made $17 million, which was a 67.7% decrease between the previous week. And then every week after, it continued to drop about 60%. So in total, this thing brought a box office of about $187 million. Not much to sneeze at, but if you look at every DC Comics movie ever made, it's in the lower half, just narrowly beating Batman and Robin. Again, attached at the hip.
Same film. Same film. Back to the same film.
So, critical response, Watchmen currently has a 65% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and the average rating is about 6.4 out of 10. The film is cited for gritty and visually striking. Many consider it a faithful adaptation of Alan Moore's graphic novel, but its complex narrative structure may make it difficult to appeal to viewers not already familiar with the source material. That is the most common excuse I saw when people were arguing that the movie was better than people want to give it credit for. It's like, oh, it's just too faithful to the comic.
No, I disagree. I feel
it's got
like
a very big different ending, but yes.
Well, that's my point, is that I find the first half to be very faithful. For the most part. There's a couple of differences, but for the most part, it's pretty one-to-one with how the film goes, or how the comic goes. And then it all just falls apart at the end. There is a bit in the film that really fucking bugged me that they didn't put in the film.
Okay.
It really annoyed me. There's a bit where Rorschach gets like a message to go to Moloch's house.
Yeah.
To talk to him.
Where he's set up.
And then you see the cops get a tip that he's gonna be there.
Yes.
So they like, we gotta go there.
Yes.
But then you like, well, that makes sense.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But in the film, Rorschach just on a whim decides
to see Moloch.
Right. On his own time.
Mm-hmm.
He just goes there whenever he wants.
Which he's already talked to Moloch, though, if memory serves.
That doesn't matter. What matters
does matter, because it's like, why would he go and talk to him again unless he thought that there was additional information? And he would only know if there was additional information if somebody said, hey, go talk to Moloch.
Even if you just think that he might want to go and brush him for more information.
Okay.
He just, because there is a bit where he's like, I need to go talk to Moloch, right? But he comes to this conclusion on his own time. So then he goes to the house and finds Moloch is dead. And then the police are like, we're outside. How did the police know he was going to be there? How was he there at the right time? None of that's explained. Like, that's such a coincidence. That's really...
I mean, I think they're leaning to... That's one of the situations where I said you don't have to explain everything to the audience, but I feel like you need to explain the fact that Rorschach got set up.
Yes, none of that's explained.
The only thing you can think of is that he shows up and he finds Moloch has a bullet in his head. But even then, like, okay, you find that Moloch has a bullet in his head. He could have had that bullet in his head for days at that point. Like,
right.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no setup. He could have been sat there forever. He could have done it himself. We don't know. Nobody knows.
So that's a situation where it would have benefited to have a scene where it showed the police, because that was in the comic, was the police getting the thing. Like, we got a tip.
We have to go now because that's where he's going to be. He's going to be there right now.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Rorschach gets the thing. He's like, oh, go meet Moloch at like 9 o'clock. That's how he knows to be there at the right time for the cops to be there.
Yeah.
That's like fucking simple storytelling, right?
Which is
Right?
interesting. They did I was at the laundromat a couple of weeks ago. It was right around when we were getting ready to film the episode where we talked about the Watchmen.
Mhm.
And one of the Esther who works there was picking what was going to be on the TV, and when I got there, it was the Watchmen motion comic, which is
Yes.
like 3 times as long as the movie because it's just the comic book
That's the comic.
somewhat animated with voice
Yeah.
actors. And like I saw that scene. I was there for that scene of the police officer getting the tip. We got to go. Rorschach's going to be at Moloch's, you know.
But like, if you cut that out of the film, you're just like, this is a mighty coincidence.
Exactly. It's a leap that didn't need to be there. I feel like that might be someone could say that we're nitpicking by pointing at that, but I feel like there's so many obvious large holes that we've already been diving into. Let us
Yep.
have some fun.
I don't think that that's
We
a
spent
small
like half
hole.
an hour talking about the ending. I feel like we can poke fun
It's-
at that one.
I think that like that's a legitimate criticism. Like
Oh, I
that's
think it is too. I just feel like some
Like-
people could see that that's us just being nitpicky, going,
some
"Oh, well,
people-
you don't have to show that."
Well, I think you do because that's how you tell a story. Like if you don't give us again, you could have told that story without the dialogue. You can give us visual clues
Yes.
or cut. You don't have to say it out loud.
They could have just cut to the police station and a phone ringing and someone picks it up and they go, "Oh, we'll be right there." And like that's all they had to do. They didn't have to
All they had to do.
specifically say like Rorschach's going to be at this place. They could have just said, "Nope, we're on our way." And then you could have had the
What's
cut.
that? 10, 15 seconds, like
Barely.
easy. Yeah, fucking easy. Why are we better at this than Zack Snyder?
Well, we're not visionaries.
That well, I think we
Restore
are.
the
Clearly.
Snyderverse, Dylan.
Fuck the Snyderverse.
See, I feel like this is why we didn't do a really big deep dive on like Batman versus Superman, because if we did, I would be the worst fucking person on this episode.
Oh, I'd be pretty upset about it.
Because that to
Yeah.
me is like Zack Snyder's fundamental lack of understanding of Superman and Batman as fucking characters drives
Yeah.
me insane.
Mhm.
They're almost
Yeah.
100 years old. Like,
Yeah.
how the fuck do you not know them? How do
Yeah.
you get them so
Mhm.
wrong?
Isn't it insane?
It is bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre. So, is there anything else that you want to touch on?
Yes.
What would you like to touch on?
There are two more things I want to touch on. But after looking through my notes, I've talked about most of the stuff I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Two more things I want to talk about. Number one, fucking Richard Nixon looks terrible.
Or the
Yeah.
He sounds a little like Vince McMahon as well. It's like the worst Nixon impersonator ever. Like they went to the Hall of Presidents at Disney and just grabbed the animatronic.
It's so bad. It looks like his face. Like, they
Yeah.
didn't put his face on properly.
No, they just grabbed the mask they used in fucking Point Break.
It's so bad. So I was like, I don't like that. I thought that was really bad.
USSR.
Also, I'm gonna say this. So this film is set in the mid '80s.
Yes.
Mhm.
They in this film used the word retarded at least 3 times. I didn't know if that was a popular word.
It
that used
really was. It really was.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, you can. Because I love to watch old commercials.
Mhm.
And there was a period of time where there were like medications and programs that were advertised to people that were like, "Is your child that word?"
You can say it.
I don't want to. I'll be frank. I'm not a fan of the word. I know a lot of folks who have developmentally disabled children, and they have very strongly conveyed to me their hatred of that word. I have friends who use it all the time. It's totally fine. It's more of a personal thing for me. But
Okay.
but yeah, it was used very, because I mean what it meant was it was sort of a catch-all term for any sort of mental disability.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, that's
but
pretty apt. But also in 2003, 2006, when they were filming this movie, it
But
was
in
still
the
getting
film-
used.
in the film, it's not used as a catch-all term for.
No, it was an insult, was it?
Correct.
Yeah.
All 3 times. I would say at least 3 times. All times it was used was always as an insult. I'm like,
Mhm.
that seems more of a more modern thing than a 80s thing to me. I wasn't there.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know if it was. It might have been used as an insult. I'll have to like think back to a bunch of 80s movies. Like usually if I think about like slasher films from the 80s, there's always a character calling somebody some offensive name. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was still used as an insult, but it definitely was an insult when I was in that period. That period of my
Yeah,
life, it was definitely being used as an insult.
it was used
Yeah.
as an insult whenever I was a kid, but we're talking like late 90s, early 2000s, which
Yeah,
is 15 years away from when Watchmen was set.
yeah,
That's my point.
yeah. It was that's sticky wickets. You know.
Mhm. That's nitpicking.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But other than that, I think that was my notes.
So would we like to end the discussion of Watchmen on the discussion of a slur or?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the film, isn't it?
The film's a slur.
It's some sort of slur.
Yeah, I feel like it's offensive to a degree. I remember
Yeah.
I said I watched this twice. The first time I watched it, I wasn't really sure how I felt about it, and then I saw it again, and I actually saw it with a professor for who I had a class with, and we talked about the movie after class one day, and he was the one that brought it to my attention. He was like, "It made no sense that Babastus was in that fucking movie." And like this man looked like a portly Shakespeare, and that's what he taught was like he taught Shakespeare, and he was like, Mr. Flanagan, yes, it was very strange to see Babastus in this movie if he was not going to be used as a foreshadowing to the conclusion.
Not wrong.
Shout out to Dr. Gabe Rieger. You're a real one, man.
What's up, Gabe? I
What's
hope you
up,
listen to the
Gabe?
show.
John, Dylan and I had a theory.
Is there anything else John wants to say about this stupid Watchmen film?
John talks about
I
movies all the
mean,
time.
yeah, I kind of
Fine.
said a lot of what I wanted to say during our previous Watchmen discussion. Like, it's a movie which I enjoy on a surface level, but at the same time, yeah, there's no nuance there. There's no subtlety. There's none of the like detail that made the graphic novel or like the comic book series like stand out and pop. And yeah, and I've never been a fan of Zack Snyder, so
No.
all of the slow-mo shots and
Or a
the
farming.
most obvious music cues, and
The
it's
violence.
just, yeah,
So
it's, man, it's not my thing.
Dylan and I were discussing. Thank you. Dylan and I were discussing where we thought you were going to be on your movie review so far. I think Dylan, you were in. Did you say 570 or
I think it's at
530?
700 at some
You said
point.
700, yeah. And I was like, I don't think so. I think John's going to probably be like 570. So,
Yeah.
John,
Um,
where are you in your movie watching for the year so far?
well, way to make me feel like a disappointment, guys. Jeez. I am currently on 552.
Oh, that's not that far off.
Yeah, that's fair.
I
Well,
mean, Price is Right rules. I lost, but you know.
I was pretty far off.
So, what was the most recent movie you watched, John?
It
I swear to God, if you
was
say Minions.
it was a movie called Ouija: Origin of Evil,
Oh boy, I think
which
I remember
was,
this one.
well, I thought I'd seen it before, but I definitely have not. And apparently, it's a prequel to another movie called Ouija, which I thought I'd seen that as well, but now this is making me doubt that I've seen it.
Have you seen anything
So
involving a Ouija board?
I mean, I must have done at some point. This one was directed by Mike Flanagan, who's done a lot
Oh,
of
that's my
like,
cousin.
yeah, he's done some good stuff over the years.
I don't
This
think
is
he's my cousin.
not really one of them.
He might be. You
No,
don't
I think
know.
his best
Yeah,
stuff is his Netflix stuff. That's why I always hear like Midnight
yeah,
Mass and stuff. That's his
oh
real
yeah,
strength.
definitely, absolutely.
So, John, what did you give Ouija? Was it Dark Origin?
Origin of
Origin of
Evil.
Evil.
Yes, I gave it 2.5 stars, which was probably a little generous,
Yeah, I would
but
say it seems like a kindness with a plot like that.
Ooh.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess like Mike Flanagan knows what he's doing with sort of horror movies, so it kind of elevated a little bit, but yeah,
So,
not great.
so John, where can they go if they want to see your reviews of that movie as well as your reviews of the various Minions and Despicable Me movies that you've watched?
They can head to Letterboxd and find me at Big John Bowski, all one word.
And Dylan, what have you been up to this week?
Well, I do a radio show every Monday nights on bouncedigitalradio.co.uk. You can, there's like a link in the description. 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock UK time. Play all sorts of fun music. Really good time for everybody. We talk about stuff. You'll love it. I stream sometimes on Twitch at Spooky LaRue, where I draw pictures and I animate those pictures and sell them to Zack Snyder for a shit ton of money, apparently. Ha, you fucking prick. But also, I put them on YouTube, Team Crows NI, and then TikTok, Team Crow Studios. So if you like really shitty videos about the Toy Story characters, here's one for you.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and the links to those are in the description, I believe, right?
I hope so.
You hope so. All
Yeah.
right. I also have the sister show to this one, which is New Number Ones. At the time of recording, we have not had another episode of it, so it doesn't matter anyway because it's 3 or 4 weeks into the future. So there's going to be a new number one for you to check out, regardless of what it is. Very simple premise. We just look at does it do a good job of establishing your main character, establishing your world, and if there is a desire or if there's meat on the bone that makes you want to continue reading it, is whether or not it's worth picking up as a series. So that's here on the channel itself. I also have my other show, Large Old Cup, which is a spoken word stream of consciousness podcast where I kind of just go off the dome for about 28 minutes. It's always a good time. But that will do us for this week, guys. We'll see you guys later. Goodbye.
Take it easy.
Bye bye.